Alright, let's take a look at Bunker 41, how we created this little bunker scene here. Has a lot of detail, a lot of little items. It's more functional than a normal little bunker where we have troops that function on top as well as troops inside. One guy's welding, reinforcing some more of the iron beams in there, whatever. And it looks like it was built into the ground and been there for a while. It's taken some hits. And overall, if you change the lighting, so if we go F6 and we go to a night scene, we have quite a nice looking functional bunker where the troops can get in and out. And if you select, go to F1, if we go to our side and select one of the troops,
Oi,
go to
army, fall in.
direct control, definitely live fire from on top of the little bunker. So it's functional, it looks good on the map. If you imagine a whole map made to this detail level and functionality, you can imagine a whole new level of gameplay for your map making. So that's just showing it in that lighting situation. We can change a little more high contrast with the moonlight. So it's worth adding these details to get your scenes to look more realistic. Not only that, but if you start with a scene with just a basic bunker and leave it, it won't, when it explodes, there's nothing to catch fire inside, there's no particles and pieces of equipment to fly out, it's not really functional. If this area gets shelled, we've got all kinds of rocks and we've got all kinds of debris. There might even be some live rounds around in the back that will be secondary explosions. The scene is much more alive and realistic. We'll just go through quickly a few more lighting situations. A more stormy, foggy night. And if we take those markers off, check out a few more lighting situations. So that's what we're looking for, a functional bunker scene that looks good, functions well, has great lighting. And how do we get there from here? So let's get out of the environment tab here and quickly rebuild this scene. This is the exact same bunker. First thing we can do is go F2, go to our textures, and first thing we do is use that texture that we used, the grassy, rocky texture. It's a realistic looking texture. If you look at it here, you can see it's gamma 12A. And we just paint that around. We'll get a nice solid texture around and fading out to the sides. Alright. So we've got our texture. Now let's quickly go to polygons. Let's go to wireframe, which tick this on. You go to wireframe, change it from level 0, which will be on by default, level 0. Switch that to level 5 and push down your left mouse button and give that whole area 5 times the resolution in polygons so we can mess around and move the heights around. We've got our brush. Use the plus and minus on your numeric keypad. Minus, get the brush as small as possible. Zoom in a bit. And right now, the geometry, the 3D geometry meets the dirt in an unrealistic manner, completely straight lines. we want to break that up to make it look more natural, like dirt actually blew up and settled alongside the walls of this building, that it has been there for quite a while. So we'll put the brush on fairly slow, and we'll, oh, that's way too quick. Start over, turn the brush back down. And start to blow some dirt along the walls of the building, breaking up that fake 3D line where the model meets the ground texture. Already that looks a lot more realistic as the dirt blows up against that cement wall. Now this bunker has been here. We want it to look like it's been here for a decade or longer. Maybe the First World War. It's got age to it. So we're slowly building up dirt along the walls with a slow, small brush. See it a little clearer there. Breaking up the lines. Looks a lot more realistic now. Maybe it's blown up quite high in the back. I'll go to F6, turn off the lightning and thunder, enable off. Save that change. So this part's pretty much done. Alright, now if we zoom out, we can see as the camera moves close to the ground, because we have our clip camera position unticked, means we can move our camera anywhere we need. We can go really close to the ground, we can go underground. So now the bunker is placed in the dirt a lot more realistically, and we did that fairly quick. Let's grab a little bit of fast grass, set on low. You can just put a little bit of grass here and there. We're going to be using more of a custom grass, but we'll put a little bit of this fast grass in here just as a start. Okay. Let's get out of there. Let's grab some of what we used over here, copy it, paste, and what we have here is just some bushes that were doubled. We took a bush and some rock and just doubled up on it, changed the size with, hold down the S key and drag your mouse in and out. And you can change the size with the S key. You can copy that, paste it in the same spot, use the Z key and turn it around. Now you have twice the branches in your tree. Do it again. Use the Z key to flip it around again. Now you have 3 times the branches in that little bush, and when you spin your camera it looks a lot fuller and more realistic. You don't see all the fake 3D planes. So we take that bush and we can put it right there. We can take this bush here, we can copy it, paste it, spin it, and shrink it a little bit, or grow it. We'll shrink it a little bit. We want it to look realistic. Let's spin it a little more. And we also have some more realistic grass that we can control as an item and not fast grass. We copy that, paste it, we spin it around a little bit, resize it, paste some more, paste it again, paste it again, and keep pasting in some of this 3D grass in here. And now, not only did the dust settle against this concrete wall, but it caused the seeds of the weeds to also take root, just like it does in nature, as we know. Those weeds love to blow up against the building and grow, and it makes things look a lot more natural. Alright, so now we have our little bunker looking a lot more naturally seated in, it's set into this ground, and it looks like it's been there for years. And the dirt and the weeds have grown up alongside it. We'll copy these again. We'll paste a bush up in there to hide the CG hard angle of that CG cut right there. We'll paste some in the back, maybe right there by the door. And we don't want to overdo this one item, but so now it's looking even better. Now, of course, this bunker has been hit 3 or 4 times with mortars or what have you, and those chunks look very CG and fake, and so we got to break up all these CG angles here. They're very unrealistic, but they didn't want to spend all the polygons on this one bunker. So we have to cheat a little bit and add some more geometry in here. And one way we can do that, we just move that there, and move one there, and move one there. Z key to spin it around, just so that they're not all the same exact position and size, so they all look a little bit different. So there you have some of the items put in place. Let's grab some of this rock, and these are just small rocks that you can change the color and the size of. So we're going to copy that, paste some of the rocks over there, paste some there, because they usually clump up. Rocks aren't evenly thrown around the dirt in, you know, exactly. They're usually gather. So you want to make it look natural, and you don't want them too far out of the ground. You want to use your A key to move it down into the dirt. Some are going to be sticking out more, some barely sticking out. And we'll spin with the Z key. We'll spin those around. But you have to be careful with rocks, because when you spin rocks, they're off axis. So we're going to get rid of those. And we're going to make sure we stay in that axis where I placed them. Copy, paste. But if you take one rock at a time, you can use the Z key to spin them, and the X key to. So let's zoom in here and just show you how that's done. If you use the X key when you select one rock at a time, you can see how to place it. You want to place it just like that. You don't want it the sharp side sticking out. Looks unnatural. That's not. So you place it like that, and that's what I did for all these rocks. I took the time to just generally lift them. I think this is a bunch of rocks all together. So one in the middle. So you want to take your rocks, make sure that they're seated right, and kind of messed with this one, but that's using the X key right now. These can be, and so you seat them into the ground using the X and Z keys. Now that looks natural from all angles, like they're just kind of laying there. There's one or two that are sticking out, but I don't want to spend too much time messing around with the rocks. But once you get a nice set of rocks created, and you can use the A key to bring them up and down again, you can copy and paste that set. So you make a couple nice sets of rocks that are well done. You take the time to do them nicely. You just copy and paste them wherever you need rocks. And for debris and stamps, you can also just take some of these stamps. So we can copy and paste this. and paste that. So it looks like when that when this was hit up here, a lot of rubble and debris would have fell down and landed here. So we need a lot of chunks of concrete to make it look like that's indeed what happened. So we don't want to select this whole bunker. So it's a little tricky, but I took the time to get a bunch of concrete pieces here. This is going to move the whole bunker, but you don't want to select that whole bunker right now. But normally I had those pieces of rock. Let's just take a couple of them here. So these are larger chunks of concrete that would have fell down. They're not too big right now, but if I zoom in here, I can use the S key and I can make them larger. So right now I have some grass also in there. Let's move the grass away. Let's take this one chunk of rock. S key makes them larger. So we'll take them over here so we can easily select them over again. Copy and paste that piece. Spin it around so it doesn't look like it's repeating. Use the X key, turn it down, bring it a little bit down. Paste another one, resize it, and you can change the color of these also. How you would change the color is when you have an item here, and you simply, when it's selected, you go here.
Very suspicious.
So you select the item, whatever rock it is, and you can go to color down here, hit this little expand, and you can change it to, I'll overdo it, see red, it turns red. And you can change the color. You don't want to overdo it though. You just want to break up the different colors a little bit so you can match whatever ground it's on. So every rock and most items in the game can be resized, moved, spun around, and recolored to give you many different effects. Copy and paste that rubble over there. Now it looks like some big chunks of concrete fell down when the mortar shell hit here. But not only that, on top of the roof there would be rubble too. So let's take this bunch up here, copy it again, paste it over here as a group, use the A key, hold down the A key, move it up. And with a little practice you can swing it over, A key holding down, and you can move the rubble and resize it up here to look realistic, like some of the chunks of the concrete. Oops. Control Z. You gotta make sure you have the right thing selected. But you get the idea, where you can put chunks of concrete where they normally aren't to add more. Copy and paste, add some more, Z key to spin them around. And depending on how much time you want to mess around with this, you can break up some of the CG hard corners that, like right there. It takes some work though. So I broke up that silhouette of that hard CG corner, paste some more, and paste some more. You don't want to overdo it because you're using polygons every time. But fast computers, modern computers, you can add quite a bit of polys in a scene like this in your computer. I've got a huge maps with 10 times the amount of the normal geometry and extras and maps and stamps, and it still runs fairly smooth on a super huge map with, you know, hundreds of soldiers and vehicles moving. And so do that for every part. So you do the same thing for where the rebar has cracked open. I would put more chunks of concrete sticking out on the rebar, and I would add more rubble, maybe grab some of these rocks, copy, paste, move them, A key, and there could be some moss growing up on top of the Control Z. If you make a mistake, Control Z. So there could be some grass and rocks that have grown up into the where the cracks and the damage was. But this takes some time because you want to make sure it looks good from all angles and that there's no rocks floating in space. But you slowly add more grass and rock. Let's copy, paste this chunk of grass, bring it up. So it's like some moss that was growing up, and the dirt blew also up in here. And I'm going to tilt it this way and move it down. So it looks like some weeds have taken root even up there. You want to maybe shrink it down, S key, copy, paste, rotate it. So it starts to break up. You want to make it look somewhat realistic and break up that hard cut edge up there. Copy, paste, you know, try to make it look somewhat realistic. And do that with everywhere where there's CG that you don't really, it doesn't look natural. And with the right lighting, it'll eventually start to look a lot more natural and realistic. And then you can add props. You know, you can copy and paste some props in that makes sense for the area. You can select more of the stamps, copy, paste, the cracked dirt. You don't want to overdo it. You want the dirt to look natural. And usually I will add some cracks of dirt around the building. I'd add, and it doesn't have to be, you can spin it around also. So you can get a lot of mileage out of stamps because you can spin them. You can't resize them, and you can't, I'm not sure if you can recolor them, possibly. Yes, you can recolor stamps, I remember. So if you go to the color tab, it will recolor. So if you wanted this a darker stamp, you see how it changes into more of a real cracky. You don't want to overdo it, but so I darken this one up, and now it, maybe some fuel or something leaked, some oil or whatever. So that's how you get a lot more use out of your stamps. You spin them around, you recolor them, repurpose them. Now for some of the specifics up here, I'm going to take this apart and show you how I put this together. The main thing that you want to understand is this if I move a lot of this out of the way, we'll eventually get to this, what I want here. And you can see all the work that's gone into here, the details, depending on how much of a hero scene you want out of this. But the main item I want here is this, because you can use this in many different ways. This little steel railing thing up here, item, if I go to F1 and my side, I can take my guys, tell them to move down, and they'll crawl down here. It's programmed and scripted to be able to take humans or troops up here and take positions like it would be a window inside a house. So I use that scripting that's built in and just move it. If I go back to F2, got to go to F2 to move F2 items, resize it and move it here into something it wasn't purposed for. And you can resize this also. So you could make this bigger, move it down like that. You know, you could have it larger over that, and if you don't like the looks of that not being normal, you could resize it inside there. And I think you could even do something like here, and they would still go up there and take a position. Now, If you put some camouflage netting over this, you wouldn't even see that railing with a bunch of grass and debris and moss growing up there. And I think there's a chance they'll still go up there and the mechanic will still work. Let's see.
We're itching to fight.
Not in this case. You may have to fudge around with this a little bit. You may have to place it so they can actually crawl up there. So again, got to be an F2. You may have to place it so that they can get up there first.
Squad, stand
get them up there.
Do it right this time.
And usually you can mess around with it until you get a situation that works. Go back into... Sometimes you got to go F2, F3. Huh, that's weird. A little glitch there. So it's not being selected. It might be on the wrong side. German side. I'm not sure why I can't select it there. But you would grab this and then try to move it into position, and until you get a situation that works. It worked quite easy and well on there, but I think during the making of this video there's some kind of glitch in the editor right now where it's not, I'm going to F2 and it's not selecting anything. It's not selecting that item. So maybe when there's soldiers up in there you got to get them out. Well, that could be it. Then we go back to F2, but it's still not selecting. So I think that's glitched out because of the size. I think I resized it and it glitched. But actually using these little cheats, you can do a lot of interesting little scenarios and get humans or troops to man positions they wouldn't normally man. Like I say, if this wasn't glitched, I could probably move it and hide it within here and they would still crawl up and actually take a position. I would put some camouflage netting over the top. And so then you just add some, you know, sandbags. Put this by the back door because when it's muddy they don't want it muddy into the bunker, so they put those little logs there so you can walk into there. And you just dress up the scene, and then you add some lighting like a fire pit which adds lighting when you get into a night scene. And you can grab little effects like the welding, which adds lighting too, a barrel of fire, and you know, before long you have something that looks a lot better than when you started. So I hope you found this, you got some information out of this little video. Like and subscribe, support the channel, make some more videos. Hope you enjoy them.